479,000,1600. And what does it mean? You can combine 12 notes, the chromatic scale, into that many combinations. I will now try to demonstrate how common practice harmony broke down. And you'll say, it didn't break down, it's still there, very much. Look at rock and roll. Yeah, I did, actually. It's all the same. And it's called the 2-5-1 cadence. And some people call this the circle of fifths. If you go, it's the steps of the C major scale divided in fifths. And here's the origin, for me, not only of the 2-5-1 cadence, but of the 8-bar phrase. Simple, okay? And if it goes in minor, it gets a little more complicated. C minor, that same circle of fifths, which is now going to change dramatically. Much more interesting, harder to play. So now I want to show this breakdown idea that, okay, so we heard this, the 5-note scale, the pentatonic, but there are others. That's a nice one. The Balinese gamelan often uses that scale. Then comes the whole tone scale. There's only one whole tone scale, and it does have one transposition, which says all the notes are different, and it turns into the circle of fifths. How did that happen? Because, as I said before, everything is connected. And now we're going to go on and talk about how the tonal system broke down, because when that whole tone scale entered Claude Debussy's pen, and it came out with all those magnificent pieces, that it had a profound effect on other people around him, composers. And actually, Claude Debussy had said such a funny thing about Stravinsky, who was his friend. He said, Igor Stravinsky is a great composer. He goes up on a tree and throws down hand grenades, which sometimes don't go off. Funny or not, maybe. Okay, so now we didn't do the 8-note scale yet. This is called the octatonic scale or the diminished scale. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to combine that 7th chord with this. It's going to go like this. And I'll play it normal. And now, believe it or not, the other one of those octatonic scales is the same scale starting in a different note. Interesting. And that really messed up music for a lot of people, because it's kind of like a hall of mirrors, because you say, oh, yeah. They're all the same. Doesn't matter where you start, it's all the same scale, all the same intervals. And since you're using, as I said, and you also use one, unfortunately, you have used up the 12 tones. And I think that I forgot to say that my own internal title for this lecture or lesson is 479,000,1600. That's 479,000,1600. And what does it mean? You can combine 12 notes, the chromatic scale, into that many combinations. So don't worry about getting stuck and not being able to figure out another way to do the 12 tones. And now, I'm going to talk about the way that it started breaking down, and Arnold Schoenberg was one of the people that really broke it down, and he had a period which is usually called the atonal period, but I don't like that word, so I just call it non-tonal. And in the Serenade Opus 24, which has the first original 12-tone piece in it, there's a thing called a song without words, and I'm going to show you why it's beautiful, hopefully with my playing, and then by the interval choices. And why is it good? Listen to the repeated B, this note. Oh, we came back to it and then surpassed it. Then I'd like to show you now the double stops of the octatonic scale. Remember this thing? It's got a cool sound. Igor Stravinsky used that octatonic double stop scale in his piece called Concertino for String Quartet. And it's in the violin cadenza, which is the middle of the piece. And, but he does this thing and introduces an idea which is interesting. So, those two fifths are a tritone apart from each other, and the scales are a perfect fifth apart. So that's the only place where they do that. And it was interesting that he thought of it that way. So when you're playing, sometimes there's, well, where did that come from? And that came from his magic of connecting intervals in a way that cannot be broken down. Now, okay, then comes the era, we're talking about tonality breaking down still, where there's going to be a lot of free improv. So, and I did some free improv myself, and it matters that if you want to scratch, and so that lasted for a while, and they have the three Johns. There's John Cage, there's John Coltrane, and then there's John Zorn. They all like that free improv idea, although John Cage, who was a friendly guy and a beautiful composer in his own way, he was a gentle person, so his music is mainly in... Doesn't make a lot of sense, but he always seems to choose the right note, even if it doesn't make sense. So that's the idea. That's tonality breaking down.